Summary of the life and career of Gregor Johann Mendel, father of modern genetics. Chapter 1, A Beginning in Poverty, 1822 to 1833. Gregor Johann Mendel, born Johann Mendel, was born on July 20, 1822, in Heinzendorf bei Odra, now part of the Czech Republic, a small village in Silesia, part of the Austrian Empire. The Mendel family were poor farmers living in meager conditions. His father, Anton Mendel, was a dedicated farmer who specialized in improving fruit trees through grafting, while his mother, Rosine Schwertlich, tended to the family. Mendel was the only son, with two sisters, Veronica and Teresa. His childhood was tied to farm work, where he developed a love for nature, particularly through gardening and beekeeping. From 1828, at age 6, Mendel began attending the village school in Heinzendorf. Education there was basic, focusing on reading, writing, elementary mathematics, and Catholic doctrine. Mendel quickly showed innate intelligence, learning swiftly and memorizing well, impressing his teachers. He studied at the village school until 1833, when he was 11. Hours spent gardening with his father, observing the diversity of plants, and tending to bees sparked Mendel's curiosity about differences between species and how traits were passed down, laying the foundation for his later genetic experiments. In 1833, a local teacher, Johann Schreiber, recognized Mendel's exceptional potential and urged his family to send him to secondary school in Trapa, now Opava, Czech Republic. This decision was a significant financial burden, especially after his father was injured by a falling tree, reducing his ability to work. Nevertheless, Mendel was sent to study, marking the first turning point in his intellectual journey. Chapter 2, A Challenging Educational Journey, 1833 to 1843. In Trapa, Mendel studied diligently but faced many hardships. Poor health forced him to pause his studies for 4 months during secondary school. Despite this, he graduated with honors in 1840. However, his family continued to face financial struggles, and his father hoped he would return to manage the family farm. Driven by a thirst for knowledge, Mendel chose to pursue his education further. In 1840, Mendel enrolled in the Philosophical Institute at the University of Olomouc, studying philosophy, physics, and mathematics. There, he demonstrated talent, particularly in the natural sciences, but financial pressures forced him to tutor to cover tuition. He tutored for about 2 to 3 years, 1840 to 1843, teaching secondary school students subjects like mathematics and literature. This work consumed much of his time, often leaving Mendel exhausted, impacting his health and study schedule. The stress occasionally disrupted his education, but he persevered through strong willpower and a passion for knowledge. His younger sister, Teresa, sacrificed her dowry to support him, a touching act reflecting family bonds and her noble character. Mendel never forgot this sacrifice and later repaid her by supporting her 3 sons, 2 of whom became doctors, reflecting his deep gratitude and integrity. In 1843, facing financial hardship and family pressure, Mendel made a life-changing decision. He joined the Augustinian St. Thomas Monastery in Brno, now Brno, Czech Republic. He took the monastic name Gregor and began a journey combining religious life with scientific study. The monastery provided not only shelter and food but also a hub of culture and science, with a library of over 20,000 books and experimental facilities, creating an ideal environment for Mendel to pursue his passions. Chapter 3, Early Years as a Monk and Teacher, 1843 to 1853. At St. Thomas Monastery, Mendel was exposed to distinguished monk scientists like Tomasz František Bratranek, philosopher, and Pavel Karel-Kryzkowski, musician. He began studying theology at the Brno Theological College and was ordained a priest in 1847. However, Mendel soon realized he was ill-suited for pastoral duties due to his shy nature. He often became stressed when visiting patients or preaching to crowds, leading to severe mental strain. Tasks like comforting the sick or leading ceremonies made him anxious, and he frequently fell into states of distress, worsening his health. Recognizing these struggles, he requested a transfer to work better suited to his abilities and personality. In 1849, Mendel was appointed a temporary teacher at a secondary school in Znaim, now Znojmo. He was beloved by students for his vast knowledge and dedicated teaching style. However, to become a certified teacher, he needed to pass a teaching qualification exam. In 1850, he failed the oral section, largely due to a lack of formal training in natural sciences. The education system in Austria at the time focused on scholastic theory, lacking experimental and statistical methods, elements Mendel later self-taught and applied successfully in his genetic research. This gap contrasted sharply with Mendel's innovative approach, which used statistics and experiments to revolutionize biology. Recognizing Mendel's exceptional potential, the monastery's abbot, Cyril František Knapp, decided to invest in him. With a vision to promote scientific research, Knapp saw Mendel's sharp analytical mind and rare diligence. He not only supported Mendel financially but also facilitated his development, a decision with lasting impact on Mendel's scientific career. Knapp sent Mendel to the University of Vienna from 1851 to 1853 to advance his knowledge. At Vienna, Mendel studied under renowned professors like Christian Doppler, discoverer of the Doppler effect, and Franz Unger, a botanist supporting early evolutionary theory. He studied physics, mathematics, chemistry, and botany, learning to apply quantitative methods and experimental techniques. These skills became the foundation for his later research. In 1853, Mendel returned to Brno and resumed teaching physics and natural history at a secondary school while beginning his plant experiments. Chapter 4, Discovering Genetics, 1854 to 1865. In 1854, Mendel began experiments with pea plants, Pisum sativum, in the St. Thomas Monastery garden. He chose peas for their ease of cultivation, short growth cycle, and distinct traits. He focused on 7 clear traits: seed color, yellow/green, seed shape, smooth/wrinkled, pod color, green/yellow, pod shape, smooth/wrinkled, flower color, purple/white, flower position, terminal/axial, and plant height, tall/short. These traits allowed Mendel to analyze results clearly and systematically. From 1854 to 1856, Mendel tested 34 pea varieties to ensure their purity, ultimately selecting 22 stable varieties for study. To ensure accuracy, he personally pollinated each plant, a task requiring remarkable patience and precision. Over 8 years, 1856 to 1863, Mendel grew and crossbred over 10,000 pea plants. Some sources suggest up to 28,000, meticulously recording the number and traits of each generation. The scale of this experiment reflects his dedication and rigorous scientific method, with each plant carefully tracked to identify inheritance patterns. He conducted single-gene, monohybrid, and multi-gene, dihybrid, crosses, observing 7 distinct traits. A key finding was the 3-to-1 ratio, 3 plants with dominant traits to 1 with recessive, in the second generation, F2, when crossing purebred plants. For example, crossing yellow-seeded with green-seeded peas produced all yellow seeds in F1, but green seeds reappeared in F2 at a 1-to-3 ratio. Based on these experiments, Mendel formulated 3 laws of inheritance. The law of segregation: each trait is determined by a pair of factors, now called alleles, which segregate randomly into gametes. The law of dominance: a dominant trait masks a recessive one in hybrids. The law of independent assortment: pairs of inheritance factors segregate independently, leading to random trait combinations. Mendel presented his findings in 2 lectures in 1865 at the Brno Natural Science Society and published his paper Experiments on Plant Hybridization in 1866. However, his work went unnoticed, largely because scientists then believed in blending inheritance. This theory held that parental traits blend in offspring, gradually reducing diversity, contrary to Mendel's discovery that recessive traits could reappear in later generations. The difference in scientific thinking and Mendel's use of statistics, a novel method at the time, caused his work to be overlooked, despite its revolutionary nature. Chapter 5, Years as Abbot, 1865 to 1884. In 1867, Mendel was elected abbot of St. Thomas Monastery with 11 of 12 votes, a testament to the respect he earned from fellow monks. The new role brought significant administrative duties, reducing his research time. Still, he continued experiments with other plants like hawkweed, but these yielded no results like those with peas due to hawkweed's asexual reproduction, complicating genetic analysis. This failure did not dampen Mendel's spirit, but it highlighted the challenges of applying inheritance laws to different species. Mendel was an active member of the Brno Natural Research Society and co-founded the Moravian Meteorological Society. In 1870, he documented a tornado in Brno, becoming one of the first scientists to describe it scientifically, contributing significantly to meteorology. That year, Emperor Franz Joseph I awarded Mendel the Commander's Cross of the Franz Joseph Order, recognizing his contributions to science and education. Despite his busy schedule, Mendel corresponded with biologist Carl Nageli, but Nageli, focused on his own hawkweed research, failed to grasp the significance of Mendel's work. This oversight was a significant missed opportunity, delaying recognition of Mendel's inheritance laws in the scientific community. In his later years, Mendel continued scientific and community activities. He corresponded with scientists and sent copies of his paper to libraries, but his work remained forgotten. Chapter 6, Final Years and Passing, 1883 to 1884. In 1883, Mendel's health deteriorated severely due to chronic kidney disease. He died on January 6, 1884, in Brno, aged 61. Brno was then a growing cultural and scientific hub, yet untouched by the major upheavals of the 20th century. Mendel was buried in the central Brno cemetery, in the Augustinian monastery's crypt. Per his wishes, his body was autopsied to study the cause of death, confirming chronic kidney disease as the primary cause. His funeral was attended by many, and local legend claims that composer Leos Janáček, once a student at the monastery, conducted the orchestra playing the Requiem to honor him, adding a literary flourish to his passing. After Mendel's death, his personal documents, including many scientific notes, were reportedly burned by the monks, according to some unverified sources, a significant loss to the history of science. The reason may have been the monks' lack of awareness of their scientific value or a desire to clear the archives. Chapter 7, Eternal Legacy and Rediscovery. Mendel's work went unnoticed during his lifetime, but in 1900, 3 independent scientists confirmed his findings, marking the rediscovery of his laws of inheritance. Hugo Marie de Vries, Netherlands, found similar inheritance ratios while studying mutations in evening primrose, recognizing patterns matching Mendel's laws. Carl Erich Correns, Germany, confirmed the laws while studying color inheritance in peas and corn, crediting Mendel as a pioneer. Erich von Tschermak-Seisnag, Austria, identified inheritance patterns while crossbreeding crops, particularly peas, and helped popularize Mendel's ideas. All 3 scientists acknowledged Mendel as the founder, ushering in the era of modern genetics, and Mendel was hailed as the father of modern genetics. This rediscovery not only validated Mendel's work but also spurred rapid advancements in genetics, from plant studies to applications in medicine and agriculture. Mendel revolutionized biology with his pioneering discoveries, becoming the first to use statistical methods in biological research, introducing a quantitative approach to science, defining the concepts of dominant and recessive to explain trait transmission across generations, and providing laws of inheritance that supported Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Mendel's legacy extends beyond genetics. He is a symbol of perseverance and passion for science. Despite poverty, illness, and lack of recognition, Mendel never ceased researching. His meticulous experimental methods, detailed record-keeping, and mathematical thinking inspire modern scientists. Mendel's pea plant studies have been applied in many fields, e.g., crop breeding in agriculture. Beyond genetics, Mendel left a mark in meteorology, beekeeping, and education. He was a dedicated teacher, a versatile scientist, and a humble monk. His work experiments on plant hybridization is one of the 19th century's most significant scientific milestones.